And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, you know, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
Bill Maher just dropped a fiery bombshell on Zoran Mumdani, and it's absolutely explosive. The razor-sharp comedian tore into Mamdani's far-left ideas with breathtaking precision, calling his New York win the ultimate dream gift for Republicans everywhere. Maher didn't just criticize, he dissected every inch of Mamdani's ideology like a surgeon exposing the truth. His rant was fierce, clever, and dripping with raw energy that scorched through every line. This clash of humor and heat is unmissable. It's a thrilling storm of wit and chaos that'll leave your jaw on the floor.
Bad ideas, and again, this ugly streak.
Well, you look
ugly streak of anti-Semitism.
Who's the most popular politician on the left?
AOC? I don't know.
One of, but who's, you know, Bernie is
Bernie, yeah.
Bernie is, I mean, he's not a capitalist, you know?
No, he's not, and he's also not president.
He's not, but
never would be.
But neither is Mamdani.
No. No, but he will, trust me, he will be featured in the campaign commercials.
But they're going to feature people, they boogeyman everybody.
Yeah, but you don't have to boogeyman him. He does it to himself.
Maher hit the nail on the head. Republicans don't have to invent a villain when Zoran Mumdani practically writes the script himself every time he opens his mouth. With Mumdani set to take the New York mayoral race by storm, critics warn his victory could hand Republicans a golden ticket to claim that the DNC is drifting into dangerous socialist territory. Mumdani insists he's just a democratic socialist, but that label comforts no one outside his loyal circle. And Bill Maher? He's not fooled for even a heartbeat. To him, Mamdani's dreamy idealism sounds noble on paper, but turns into a weapon for conservatives, transforming progressivism into a spectacle of doubt and division.
This must be horrible for a guy like you, who you spent your whole life talking about how government tries to do too much, which it does, and spends too much. And here you have Trump, who is the Republican, who is aggrandizing more power than anybody, as we just talked about. And on the other side, you have the guy running in New York, Mamdani, right? Okay, who's like a straight-up communist. I mean, he is. He talks about, you know, the things that communists say. I mean, he wants free grocery stores, free buses.
I want him to win.
You want him to win?
At first glance, it all sounds flawless, a beautiful dream of fairness and unity that captures every heart and headline with ease. But dig just a little deeper, and that shining fantasy quickly cracks apart into something darker. Mamdani's vision might dazzle idealists hungry for change, but for those who've lived through socialism's downfall, it's a chilling repeat of history disguised as progress. The glittering promise of equality fades fast when the past keeps warning us. What seems like hope today can unravel into disaster tomorrow.
Every 20 years or so.
Wait.
We need every 20 years or so, we need a conspicuous, confined experiment with socialism so we can crack it up again. Socialist slogan used to be, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but your chains. The new socialist slogan is, trust us, this time it won't be a mess.
Socialism has stumbled so many times that most people wouldn't go near it even with a mile-long stick. Yet somehow, younger voters still get swept up by those glossy dreams of fairness and equality that sound almost magical. The real flaw in socialism isn't just about greed, it's rooted in human nature itself. People need drive, passion, and reward to build, create, and push boundaries. When everyone earns the same no matter the effort, ambition fades, and corruption seeps in like a slow, toxic flood. The system that promises justice ends up spreading frustration instead. History keeps shouting the same truth. When governments try to run everything, they eventually crumble under their own weight. Mamdani's grand vision of endless aid and free handouts might sound noble, but without freedom to innovate, progress dies, and misery becomes the only thing shared equally.
So, you know, when the post-war Labour government in Britain was about to get started, one of their leading lights was a socialist named Nurian Bevan. He said, what could go wrong? He said, we have a nation bedded on coal, surrounded by fish. It would take an organizational genius to have a shortage of either. In 3 years, they had a shortage of both. That's socialism.
Britain serves as a powerful warning from history, a nation that once danced with socialism and nearly paid the ultimate price. In the early 1900s, the country promised fair wages, equal chances, and justice for every citizen, a dream that sounded pure and revolutionary. But within decades, that vision collapsed into chaos as thriving industries were swallowed by state control and crushed by suffocating bureaucracy. Productivity nosedived, inflation exploded, and the nation's pulse slowed to a painful crawl. all, the equality they fought for ended up spreading misery instead of wealth. By the 1970s, Britain had become the sick man of Europe, gasping for economic air until Thatcher's fierce free market reforms revived it back to life.
And one of the things that we've said, beyond saying that we're going to make this a sanctuary city for LGBTQIA plus workers, beyond saying that we're going to establish an office of LGBTQIA plus affairs, is also that we're going to provide $65 million in funding for gender-affirming care, the same amount of funding that the federal government threatened to pull out from local providers for that kind of work. And in this moment especially, if we want to fight the Trump administration, we have to do so by fully funding our own services, taxing the wealthiest New Yorkers and corporations.
This is exactly why Bill Maher fears Zoran Mumdani could spell disaster for the Democrats' future. Maher understands that when the party drifts too far left, it risks alienating the very moderates it needs to survive. Many Americans turn to Donald Trump as a reaction against what they saw as the extremes of progressive ideology, especially the fiery debates over gender-affirming care for minors. Yet Mumdani seems determined to dig that wound even deeper, pledging to privately raise a staggering $65 million to fund such efforts, igniting one of the most divisive battles in American politics. For Maher and other Democrats clinging to reason over radicalism, Mumdani's crusade isn't bold. It's self-sabotage in plain sight. His plan hands Republicans a perfect weapon, proof that the left is drifting away from balance, morality, and the everyday voter who just wants stability.
He has attacked you personally and publicly like this.
He's not a socialist. He's a communist, okay? This is not a socialist, man. This is a communist.
I don't like to see a communist become mayor, I will tell you that.
I call him my little communist. He's my little communist mayor. We should never be in a position where we're talking about a communist.
We're going to end up with a communist mayor. It's not even believable, my beautiful New York. I think if a communist takes over New York City, I think that's a gift to the Republican Party.
Last time you were on this program, you were unequivocal in saying you do not like capitalism. But Trump, just in those remarks there, I counted, called you a communist 8 times. Are you?
No. I'm a democratic socialist. I've said that time and again.
There's no denying it. Zoran Mumdani is crafting his own political disaster without needing a single enemy's help. He's pushing for city-owned grocery stores and free public transportation, ideas that scream control and government overreach from every angle. While he keeps insisting he's simply a democratic socialist, his fiery speeches echo the same grand but doomed promises of past far-left movements. Even if his intentions seem pure, his plans only fuel the growing fear that Democrats are inching dangerously close to socialism's edge. It's the perfect example of walking like a duck and quacking like one. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what it really is.
What I've found is that this vision of democratic socialism, it's one that often comes back to what Martin Luther King said decades ago. A vision of, call it democracy or call it democratic socialism, there must be a better distribution of wealth for all of God's children in this country. Here in New York City, wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, 1 in 4 are in poverty. 500,000 kids go to sleep hungry every night. It's untenable to live with this kind of a divide. We have to actually have a politics that puts working people.
It's truly fascinating. Mumdani's fiery speeches may sound bold and refreshing, but underneath the shine lies the same recycled script politicians have been using for decades. They chant about fairness, equality, and opportunity, wrapping every word in emotion and cherry-picked numbers to spark hope. But once in power, the mask slips, and the real agenda steps forward. Policies that punish ambition and bury progress beneath piles of red tape. America doesn't need that, and New York definitely doesn't either. This nation was built on freedom, innovation, and the will to achieve. Those are the engines that made it thrive. Trading that legacy for a system history has repeatedly proven to fail would be madness. If the past has taught us anything, it's that such dreams collapse fast, and Bill Maher knows that truth like few others.
Assemblyman, you're running for mayor of New York and not prime minister of Israel, but you've made inflammatory statements like calling Israel an apartheid state and questioning its right to exist as a Jewish state. Just this week, you were evasive with a reporter about condemning Hamas. Given New York has the largest Jewish population outside of Israel, why should voters who see this as a moral red line trust your clarity and judgment?
Well, I really appreciate this question and an opportunity to just clear up, I think, a number of misconceptions. First and foremost, you're right. I am running to be the mayor of the city, and this city will be the focus of my administration, ensuring that we make this a city everyone can afford and everyone knows that they belong to. And also, millions of New Yorkers, myself included, care deeply about what's happening in Israel and Palestine.
Did you catch how he completely dodged that question? Classic politician behavior. When the spotlight burns too bright, they twist, stall, and drown the truth in polished words that say absolutely nothing. Gavin Newsom charms his way through it. Kamala Harris turns every answer into a show, and AOC delivers hers like a rehearsed speech. And now, Zoran Mumdani has proudly joined their ranks. His shaky response about Israel wasn't just awkward, it exposed his true colors. It revealed exactly the kind of leader he'd be as New York's mayor, one who sidesteps tough issues and hides behind carefully scripted morals. The real danger isn't just what he says, it's what he refuses to say. Because in politics, silence and evasion can roar louder than the boldest declaration.
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt, who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
Well, it wasn't so much his aunt as his dad's cousin, but, semantics. Douglas, is he ready to lead?
No, in absolutely no way is he ready to lead, and that was just another reminder of it. This is such a self-involved little narcissist with so little going for him.
And that's exactly the game they play, spinning emotional, high-drama stories to tug at hearts and win votes with flair. It's one of the oldest tricks in the political playbook, perfected over decades of campaigning. For Democrats who've mastered identity politics, Mumdani's narrative is a dream come true, deeply emotional, symbolic, and perfectly polished to paint him as the savior of progress and compassion. The party eats it up, celebrating him as the moral voice of New York, the champion of the underrepresented. But for anyone looking past the charm, it's pure theater, glossy, stirring, and utterly hollow at its core. Because no matter how moving the performance, great storytelling can't replace real leadership, and Mumdani's polished act is already cracking beneath the spotlight.
But he even decides to turn the memory of 9/11 and the 3,000 Americans murdered that day into a story about his aunt and the subway. It's interesting, like so many things that this smarmy candidate does, he makes it about himself and it all turns out to be untrue anyway. It seems to the extent that he had any such aunt in question, she wasn't in New York at the time, and in any case, didn't wear the headscarf.
It turns out Zoran Mumdani's inspiring backstory starts to crumble the moment you look closely. Yet in deep blue New York, loyalty often outweighs logic, and that's exactly why he's still gliding toward victory with ease. Even with glaring holes in his narrative, the real question isn't whether he'll win. It's what happens when the cheering stops and reality hits. Running a city as massive and divided as New York isn't a feel-good performance. It's a test of vision, strength, and truth. Watching Mumdani face that storm will be fascinating, maybe even alarming. His rise isn't progress, it's a red flag. Behind the polished smiles and noble promises hides an ideology history has condemned again and again. Bill Maher's fears are completely justified. If Mumdani takes New York down this road, it won't just shake Democrats, it could rewrite their identity entirely.